So you want to buy an e-road bike, but are bewildered by the options available and the terms used to describe the bikes? If so, this video is for you. There have never been so many choices for e-road bikes, and by e-road bikes I mean bikes designed to be ridden on tarmac or gravel roads, generally without suspension and mostly with drop handlebars. I've found over 70 bike manufacturers offering this type of bike, often offering a range of each model, with each model split into different specifications, utilising at least 12 different e-bike systems. And that's in Europe alone. Each is seemingly different from their competitors, and whilst that is true in terms of styling, price and non-electrical components, because there are a limited number of electrical systems these brands can use, it lets us group several competitors' bikes together. So once we've decided which motor and battery best suits our needs, we can limit the search to bikes using that system. It's simple. But it may not be so simple. Before you can decide which e-road bike is for you, you need to be brutally honest with yourself. How fit are you? How much do you weigh? Are you trying to keep up with fitter or younger riders on non-e-bikes, particularly on flat rides over the cut-off speed, which is 25 kilometers an hour in Europe? What are the steepest slopes you're looking to ride up? What is the maximum amount of climbing in a ride you're hoping to achieve? Do you want to ride road, gravel, or a mixture of both? How stealthy looking and quiet do you want the system to be? And least importantly, what range are you looking for? Now, answering these questions will start to inform your decision about whether you need a hub or a mid-motor on your e-road bike, how much power and torque that motor requires, how light the bike needs to be, the capacity of the battery, whether you will need an additional range extender battery, and the design of the bike in terms of geometry, gearing, tyre clearance, and maybe even some form of suspension. The answers will be specific for you, which is why you cannot simply go for, say, the most popular e-road bike, assuming it will be the right choice. These bikes are usually wildly expensive, so you don't want to make the wrong choice. Now, I'm going to take the last question first. Range. Please don't get hung up on range. If you and I grabbed the same bike and rode it, the range we would get from it would be wildly different. It depends mostly upon the rider's weight, their fitness, how much climbing you do, how steep those climbs are, but there are plenty of other factors. My longest ride on my Orbea Gain is 204 kilometers, and I used just over half of the internal battery's capacity, so 400 kilometers, great! But the route was very flat and I rode for the most part over 25 kilometers an hour, so the motor was not even on. Later, when the wind got up and I got tired, I used some assist. On another ride, I may use all of the battery capacity in 40 kilometers. Maybe I'm running late or feeling tired, or I'm climbing big steep hills, or it may be after a Christmas where I've just eaten my own body weight in turkey and mince pies. So I'll be using high levels of assist. Same bike, same rider, different day, 400 kilometers, 40 kilometers. Possibly the most important question is, how steep are your hills? Most hub motors struggle when the bike is going slow, like on steep hills. I would suggest that if you have hills over 8% and you are rather unfit and or rather overweight, simply rule out hub motors. Perhaps you can leave in Giant's new hub motor, which is a beast, but untried by me. Now, if you are fairly unfit or fairly heavy, but generally ride on flatter roads, then hub motors are still an option, as they do not seem to work at lower speeds, but they are still surprisingly powerful, and they are light and generally very quiet. It's worth noting that in very broad terms, hub motors appear more reliable than mid-motors. But this could be because many mid-motors are ridden by mountain bikers over terrain unlike smooth asphalt. Perhaps next to consider is how much riding over the cut-off speed of 25 kilometers an hour you're likely to do. Here, I personally found that the lighter the bike, the better. I found it easier to maintain around 34-35 kilometers an hour in a group when I was riding a BHI Aerolite, which weighed under 12 kilos, than on my 14 kilo Orbea Gain. although I suspect the BH's lower, more aggressive riding position played a large part in this, and that the lighter weight, the thinner tyres, the zero motor drag and the aero frame mostly helped me think it was easier. But either way, easier it undeniably was. E-bikes with hub motors can often hold sway here with light motors and smaller batteries, although mid-motors are getting lighter and lighter. Hub assist systems are often more competitively priced and generally win on the stealth quietness stakes, although again those advantages are being eaten into by mid-motor technology development. The bike's overall weight will also be a major consideration for any owners using it to travel on trains or lifting it up steps or onto a car bike rack. We can also put rider fitness, rider weight and how much climbing you do on one ride together in determining how much battery capacity we might need. For e-road bikes, the internal battery can range from just 200 watt hours up to an enormous 820 watt hours in the Italian brand Olympia's e-gravel bike, the Sled. And that's just at the moment. Battery technology is moving fast, so expect those numbers to increase. Less fitness and greater rider weight will likely mean you use the assist more and at higher levels, so you'll need a bigger battery. And the same is true for fitter, lighter riders that regularly want to do long days with lots of climbing in the high mountains. To muddy the waters, many e-assist systems offer an additional battery or a range extender which can be easily plugged in to increase the battery capacity. Now, this can be of benefit if you also often do shorter, less steep rides and can leave the extender at home and save a kilo or two on those rides. This weight saving also has the benefit of improving performance at speeds above the cutoff for keeping up with your friends on group rides too. So we've seen what can influence your choice as to hub or rear motor, the bike's weight and its battery capacity. To find out what power and torque you need from the motor is an extension of the fitness, weight, climb steepness question, but a much less important one. Why less important? Because however unfit you are, however overweight and however steep, just about every mid-motor out there will work for you. It's more a question now of how easy you want to make it or how fast you want to go uphill, and this relates to the torque of the motor, expressed in Newton meters. During my research, I've found mid-motors with between 50 and 85 Newton meters of torque in drop bar e-road e-gravel bikes. Broadly speaking, torque is what will grind you up those steep mountains. I've been lucky enough to ride e-bikes with 40, 60, 65 and 85 Newton meters of torque. On roads, after having some initial fun in the maximum assist level, I've never used more than a 50 Newton meter setting for my rides, and even that quite rarely. I used less than 50 Newton meters, for example, when I climbed our local Mount Caro, an HC climb rated harder than Alpe d'Huez, and frankly I'm enormous. On horrible off-road tracks, however, you may want a little more than 50 Newton meters, but the highest torque motors are only if you like herring up hills at crazy speeds, or if you are in some way quite severely compromised in your pedalling. And remember, more assist means less range, and very often more torque means a heavier motor. Now that said, all e-bike systems have several levels of assist, so even one with a very high torque can be dialed down, leaving the maximum available for unforeseeable emergencies. The reason why I don't believe you'll need all that torque is down to how mid-motors work compared to hub motors. If you have your mid-motor set to give you 40 Newton meters of torque, you'll get most or all of that assistance irrespective of your speed. Most hub motors, however, will only give you that 40 Newton meters equivalent at speeds nearer 20 kilometers an hour. 8 kilometers an hour or lower, say, on those steepest sections where you most need assist, the hub motor will be struggling to offer much assist at all. If you want to know why, I've made another video examining that, and there's a link in the top right corner. But for this video, you can take it as a fact. Another consideration is where you'll be recharging your bike. Many of these systems do not have a readily removable battery, so if you cannot bring your bike to a charging point, you'll need to find a system where the battery can be removed for charging. Finally, road or gravel. Pure road bikes will likely be lighter, often with less power, lower torque, smaller battery capacity, fewer or no attachment points for luggage, capacity for narrower tyres only, and higher gearing. They are easier to ride above the assist cut-off speed. The latest e-gravel bikes are real adventure bikes, suitable for pretty rough off-road conditions, and usually feature more powerful motors, larger capacity batteries, and space for large knobbly tyres that can be run at a much lower pressure for additional comfort and grip. Their weight is normally higher than with e-road bikes, but with their normally more powerful motors and with less likelihood of riding above the cut-off speed, the weight of e-gravel bikes is largely irrelevant. They often have plenty of attachment points for luggage, gearing suitable for rough surfaces and steeper climbs, and as such are at their best with mid-motors, which are as happy at low speeds as at high. They can also be fitted with skinnier road tyres, of course, but some may run out of gears if you like to hammer down long alpine descents at high speed. But for many of us older and or heavier riders, and for those living in countries where road riding is becoming ever more hazardous, an e-gravel bike can offer more assist, more range, more comfort, and the ability to weather not only congestion-free tracks, but potholed roads. So, by now you should be getting an idea of the sorts of e-bikes you might be interested in: hub or mid-motor, road or gravel, more or less powerful, more or less weight, more or less battery capacity. For this video, I've identified 4 main hub motor brands and 7 mid-drive brands. There are others, but these are the most popular. Well, I can easily let you know the power, torque, battery capacity, even relative quietness of each system, but it's proven quite difficult to acquire real information about what are probably the most important aspects: reliability and after-sales customer service. These bikes cost thousands. You don't want them to go wrong, and if they do, you want it fixed fast. My strong advice here would be to find a local bike shop that stocks the bike of your dreams and ask them how good the after-sales service and warranty claims are. Them not knowing can be a good sign. The bikes may be super reliable. The reason why I'm putting customer service and warranty claims first is because every single system can and does go wrong. I've spent months on various forums, clubs and groups trying to assess how reliable each system is, anecdotally from the number of stories posted on those sites by customers, but also comments made from e-bike and local bike shop mechanics. It's an extremely difficult task. Each system is seen as the worst by users for whom things have gone wrong, and the users with trouble-free bikes, who I believe are the huge majority in almost every case, are often blissfully ignorant of even the existence of these groups. What does trouble me is the lack of consistent customer care that can occur. Bikes under warranty taking 3 or even 6 months to be returned, fixed or otherwise, whilst others, often in another country, often warm praise for their swift sorting of their issue with the same brands. In any case, a long warranty period covering the motor and battery is something that I would rank very highly indeed. What follows, therefore, can only be my opinion of each system based on my research. To see examples of bikes using each system, may I suggest you press pause and take a screenshot at that point, as I don't want the information to be up for too long, as it will get in the way of my system description. I'm going to do a quick, it won't be that quick, I'm going to try and do a quick summary of each system, and then I'm going to do my opinion of it later. If you want to skip to what probably will end up being quite a harsh opinion, you could skip to, I'll try and put a number in, I'll try and put a timer in so that you can go directly to there if you don't want to see a summary of each system. So we're going to start with hub drives, and when people think of hub drives, a lot of people are first going to think of Mahle. Mahle make the X35 Plus, the X20, the X30 and the XS systems. The most common is the X35 and the X35 Plus. The X35 system sits on more e-road e-gravel bikes than any other system. There aren't any actual reliability figures available, but despite what appear to be a large number of complaints online, the most common are seemingly minor battery controller fault that requires a complete expensive replacement battery unit. These problems will be a drop in the ocean compared to the enormous number of systems out there, notching up huge mileages without any issue, including, it must be said, my own. The X35 is showing its age now, and it's a basic on-off power assist system, unlike the much more advanced learning system of the X20 and its detuned, more robust sister, the X30. They use torque and cadence sensors and machine learning to offer a very, very natural feeling of assistance. Again, there does appear to be some battery issues for some X20 users, and it is a comparatively new system with a few units sold, so it's difficult to get a clear picture of reliability. Customer service with Mahle can be patchy, with some customers giving glowing reviews and others waiting sometimes for months for parts, even under warranty. Now, the next hub drive we're going to look at is from the manufacturer AKM. It's a 55 Newton meter, 360 watt hour capacity system with a 1-year warranty. Now, AKM are a very highly regarded Japanese manufacturer with 44 years experience of making electric motors, including e-bike motors. The 55 Newton meter unit fitted to MoMA's e-gravel bike is punchy and reliable and has been around for years. Spares are available to the end user, either you as a DIYer or to your local e-bike mechanic, but if that sounds like too much hassle, the entire motor unit is available for €150. By far the cheapest system, with MoMA's gravel bikes substantially cheaper than the next most expensive offering. Just don't expect a sophisticated sensor-laden system. The bike component manufacturer FSA also have a hub motor. It's the HM1. It has 43 Newton meters of torque, a 250 watt hour battery and a 2-year warranty. Now, FSA are one of the world's leading bike component manufacturers, and 4 years ago they threw their hat into the e-bike system ring with their HM1 motor. The system utilises both speed and torque sensors, but they sit within the motor body itself, leaving the bike uncluttered with wires and external sensors. A 250 watt hour range extender is available. Now, unusually for the market, FSA have made their parts available for the system, which bodes well for longer term use beyond the warranty period. Like the Mahle systems, the FSA is ANT Plus compatible, so that battery info can be put up onto your Garmin or similar devices. Performance is broadly equivalent to Mahle's X35 system. The bike manufacturer Giant also have their own hub motor. It's the Sync Drive Move Plus, and it's a whopper of 75 Newton meters with a 400 watt hour capacity battery and a guarantee for the standard 2 years. Now, Giant's new e-bike motor could prove a game changer. It's a very powerful hub drive, which may get to surmount the genre's problem with steep slopes at slow speeds. A 4-amp charger means fast charging times, and a clever motor connector in the through axle means you don't need to unplug or line up a connector when dropping out the rear wheel for flats or transport. But reports state that the motor is pretty noisy. Giant are the biggest bike manufacturer and have reportedly excellent customer service throughout their outlets worldwide. Now, the last hub drive we'll be looking at is the Hyena. The Hyena is badged as the Trek High Drive. It has 40 Newton meters, 250 watt hour battery and has a 2-year warranty. Now, the High Drive is very similar to Mahle's X35, but the High Drive is slightly more up to date in that it utilises a torque sensor to detect how much effort the rider is putting in to determine the amount of assist to provide. Now, this makes the pedalling feel very natural, as the bike responds appropriately when more or less effort is spent. A 250 watt hour range extender is available, and the motor has been used for several years in some of Trek's popular commuter bikes, which have good reliability record. Any issues would be rapidly cleared up by Trek's excellent customer service. Moving on to mid-drives, the first mid-drive we're going to look at is Polini. That's the EP3 or the EP3 Plus, which is a mid-drive with between 75 and 80 newton meters of torque, and batteries of between 400 watt hours and 820 watt hours. They have a 2-year warranty. Now, of all the systems that I could find anecdotal online evidence for, the most reliable appears to be Polini. I hadn't even heard of Polini before, but almost half of all the brands making e-road or e-gravel bikes use this system. I found that many bike shop mechanics have never worked on the system, despite the most popular EP3 being around for 7 years unchanged. Now, this may be partly down to the fact that Polini motors are serviceable, so the service parts, pictorial guides and after-sales assistance are available to end users for its motors. And they're so perfect for those who love to tinker with their bikes. It's fantastic and extremely rare. It even has a grease port. The motor itself is one of the most powerful fitted to e-road and e-gravel bikes, and there are versions of up to 80 newton meters available. Now, the next mid-motor system we're going to look at is Bosch. Bosch produced the SX and the CX mid-motor systems. I couldn't find any e-road or e-gravel bikes with the CX system, at least not now. There was the Canyon Grail on in days gone by, but currently the SX is a 55 newton meter, 500 watt hour system with a 2-year warranty. Now, Bosch, I mean, they are the recognised gold standard for reliability, despite what appears at first glance to be online to be a number of complaints. Bosch sell an enormous number of units, which puts the number of complaints into perspective. Now, looking at the world of EMTBs, where mid-motors are prevalent, it's important to note that more and more bike brands have switched from other systems to Bosch. So much so that Bosch are currently not accepting any more bike brands to partner with because they are at capacity. Their after sales is very well established globally and well regarded. Now, the SX is Bosch's lightweight offering with 55 newton meters. It does work best at very high pedalling cadences, actually of over 120 revolutions per minute, which is far too fast for me. But for riders with a naturally high cadence, this would be a rewarding choice. You don't need to hit 120, but 90-100 would be better than 70 to 80. Next is Shimano, who make 3 different mid-motor systems, the EP6, the EP8 and the EP801 for e-road and e-gravel bikes. The battery capacity is 500 or 635 watt hours, and at 85 newton meters, these systems are the most powerful available for a road or gravel bike. Now, what some of you may not know is that Shimano's popular systems are not serviceable. Once outside the 2-year warranty, which most find is excellent and has a rapid turnaround of fixes when things go wrong, officially you will not be able to replace, say, a cheap bearing that could avoid or certainly put off the need for an expensive full motor replacement. A very few independent mechanics have realised this and scavenge or repurpose parts to help out, but you'll get nothing from Shimano. Unfortunately, there seem to be a great number of disgruntled Shimano customers reporting a seemingly trivial torque sensor fault, which have nonetheless led to a full motor replacement being required. Now, this is an open industry secret. Shimano are losing brand partners and they're working hard to retain their existing ones. Now, I hope and I expect things to turn around for this company, but currently, I'm not sure. Mahle are best known for their hub-based motor systems, but what they've also done is work closely with Specialized to come up with the SL 1.2, their latest mid-motor system. It's a 50 newton meter motor with a battery capacity of 320 watt hours, and it's fitted to the Specialized Turbo Creo 2 Comp. Specialized have exclusive rights to this motor. It's quiet. It has a good reputation in that there are a normal number of complaints for the motor, but it is fitted to 2 hugely popular models of theirs, one road, one an EMTB, and of course Specialized customer service is extremely highly regarded. I would say that the battery capacity at 320 watt hours is quite low, but that is to reduce weight. So it is a decision you'll have to make if that is enough for you. Moving on now to TQ and their HPR 50 Newton meter motor with a 360 watt hour battery. It's also got a 2-year warranty. This is fitted to a number of very premium bike brands, and it is the quietest mid motor, and actually perhaps the quietest motor overall. Now, customers report an extremely smooth feed-in of power, and they find it difficult to discern when that power comes in, which leads to a very natural pedalling experience. It's very small, it's very discreet, and the system includes a full display screen, which most brands incorporate into the top tube. Now, it does work best at higher cadences of 100 RPM, but it can be altered to fit the rider, and it does actually learn from the rider too. It's an intelligent system. Now, TQ continue to support the system, which is now 2 or 3 years old, with firmware upgrades, which is developed from user feedback. This is excellent, and all brands should take note. There is a potential issue for heavier riders on long hills in the heat. Now, that's not going to apply to all that many of you. But the TQ does have a fail-safe if the motor temperature edges up towards 70 degrees C. The power is reduced in stages of 5 watts until the temperature falls. So on long hills, this may lead to a significant reduction in power just when you need it most, but it is saving your motor from damage, of course. I'm going to mention Fazua next. They have 2 systems available, the Ride 50 Evation, which is a 50 Newton meter motor with a 250 watt hour battery, and the more recent Ride 60 with 60 Newton meters and a battery of 430 watt hours. Now, these are fitted to some of the most premium marques, such as Cervelo and Canyon. It's quiet, it's powerful, but it does appear to have continuing reliability problems. Interestingly, it used to be the motor of Pinarello, Trek and Bergamont, and they have all recently changed from Fazua to the TQ. So that would have required significant design changes and considerable costs. So you can read into that what you will. Now, unusually, the 50 Newton meter Evation system is in 3 parts, with both the battery and the motor in the down tube, connected to a bottom bracket gearbox. You can actually remove the battery and the motor, leaving you just with a bottom bracket and a potentially sub 9 kilo road bike. 2 bikes for one. Now, for many roaders, this would be absolutely perfect. It does mean that there is less space in the down tube, so which is why the battery capacity is actually quite low for a powerful motor. The 60 Newton meter system has reverted back to the non-removable motor. Next up is SEG's BHZ mid-motor. It has 65 Newton meters, a battery of either 504 or 630 watt hours, and, get this, a 5-year warranty. The only warranty over 2 years that I could find for an e-bike system. The Spanish-based branch of the German automotive giant that supplies e-motors to 300 million vehicles worldwide has developed the new BHZ e-bike mid-motor that powers the Spanish brand's BH's e-bikes, taking over from Dapu that previously manufactured BH's own brand mid-motors. SEG are a huge automotive parts company, but it is difficult to know how well the newbie, even though they are huge, how well their customer service will work for e-bike motor customers, or whether BH will deal with everything themselves. The motor itself is very similar to Dapu's 65 Newton meter motor, which I have ridden. It was excellent, it was powerful, it was quiet, I loved it. Now, I do still need to mention Dapu because the Dapu is still used on the Megamo Kansas gravel bike. Megamo use it as their own brand central motor, and Dapu are a Japanese manufacturer of well-regarded motors. And I did use that Dapu when I tested the BH Hyena line. I found it responsive and powerful, and there were no issues when I clocked up 3,000 kilometers in 3 months. But from online, I can't find very much good about their warranty. When it was a BH, the warranty was 5 years. With Megamo, the warranty seems to say it's whatever Dapu say the warranty is, and from what I can find out, that might be 18 months. It was very difficult to find out, and again from online forums, people struggled to get a response from Dapu when they were trying to claim under a warranty. Brose have been making very well regarded and very powerful mid-drive motors for years, and it surprises me that I could only find one bike, Van Ryssel's e-Gravel AF-MD, which actually uses a Brose drive T-Mag. It's a 70 Newton meter engine with 500 watt-hour battery and a 2-year warranty. It's a surprise because it does seem to be an excellent match of power and capacity. My only concern is that Decathlon, who make the Van Ryssel, it doesn't have a very good service, customer service record. Now here in Spain, Trustpilot rates it at 1.2 stars from 5. Now whether Brose would actually assist with any motor or battery issues, I'm afraid is unknown. So where does that leave us? With a lot of choice. Hang on, I'll help you. Again, this is my opinion only. Hub motors. Mahle's X35 is everywhere. It works well except on steeper hills and should be getting cheaper as it is a very basic system and it's getting old. It is reliable. The same can be said for the very similar FSA system. If you need more power, Mahle's X20 should be inherently reliable as a hub motor, but my concern is that they have taken an X20, detuned it to 45 Newton meters and replaced lightweight components with more robust ones to make the even newer X30. Why? Presumably because they know that the X20 is not robust. Cheapest of all the bikes I found was Moma's entry-level e-gravel bike, but the hub motor is from a quality, long-established Japanese brand AKM, and it's as powerful as the X20. It looks to be a real bargain at €1,500, and the components are branded Shimano, Tektro, etc., even if they're low-end. Now remember, parts for the E-system are available to the DIYer and cheap. It could be great for those unafraid to get your fingers oily. The 75 Newton meter hub motor in the Giant Defy Advanced E Plus should also have that inherent hub motor reliability, but until a fat bloke rides one up a hill, I won't be convinced it won't still get bogged down at very low speeds. With prices starting at €6,500, this definitely needs to be tested before you buy, and if you can't, move on to a hub motor. As a side note, Giant claim the battery is good for 2,300 cycles, which is massively above the industry standard. Next, Fazua. There were just too many complaints online to trust the Ride 50 system, sad as it is a brilliant design. The Ride 60 is well liked by its owners, but again, there are too many complaints for me to happily recommend it. One magazine was sent 2 bikes to test with the system. Neither would even turn on. Also, too many bike brands have gone elsewhere. Shimano. Incredibly, I'm thinking the same. That torque centre problem I mentioned happened to most users after riding in just a little bit of rain, or washing the bike, not even with a pressure washer. By the way, never use a pressure washer on any bike, and most certainly not an e-bike. Until the recent upgrades are proven, either take the risk for an otherwise great motor or wait and see. Brose. Very few bike brands use Brose. Why? I couldn't find out. The Van Rysel e-Gravel AF Mid is great value at $3,500, so if your local Decathlon bike mechanic and customer services are decent, it looks to be a great buy. SEG. My choice due to that 5-year but as yet largely untested warranty, and because I live in Spain where the bike brands using these systems are from, so if necessary I can camp out on their doorstep if things go wrong. They're great, powerful motors, and BH's iRS1 with its 630 watt-hour battery looks to be the endurance roadie's pick. TQ. Almost the perfect e-road motor. Just the right amount of torque and near silent. The 360 watt-hour battery isn't huge, but with a range extender, this motor ticks a lot of boxes. The bikes are pricey, but reliable top-end brands are using it. The Mahle Specialized. The SL 1.2 looks like a great motor, and the Turbo Creo 2 is one of the best thought out gravel bikes I've seen, incorporating adjustable front suspension, and everything is backed up by specialized American style after sales. but €6,000 is far from cheap. Polini. All these brands still using a 7-year-old Polini can't be wrong, together with a lack of complaints online. Excellent gravel heavyweight rider choice with a lot 50% more go than the TQ, and it's serviceable. Oh, and the battery of up to 820 watt hours on a bike costing just over €4,000. Hello. Bosch, the Bosch SX, it's the sensible option, especially for gravel. It's hugely reliable, extremely well established brand. It's light, it's 55 Newton meters, 500 watt hour battery. It may be perfect for gravel. There are lots and lots of gravelly choices, not so much for the road. So I've put together a list of, well, I've termed them things like budget road bike or budget gravel bike. Please take all of these things with a pinch of salt. I'm aware that none of it is low cost. So on my list here, I've got budget road bike, an Orbea Gain D50 for €2,250. Budget gravel bike is the MoMA eGravel 28 Pro for €1,500. The best value road bike I could find was Van Ryssel's EDR CF, which is a carbon fibre e-road bike with Mahle's X20. That's for €3,800. And perhaps not surprising, Decathlon's Van Ryssel have also got their best value gravel bike, in my opinion, which is the Van Ryssel eGravel AFMD, which is €3,500 and has the Brose motor. But the quirkiest was the Rottwild R.R275X Ultra. Have a look at that one. And as some examples of each system, these are what I would consider simply beautiful bikes. There won't be that many gravel bikes in this list, I'm afraid. So for the TQ, it's got to be the Trek Domani Plus SLR. For the Polini system, there is an amazing looking bike called the Stage Velo Mirabeau. The Bosch Cube New Road Hybrid C62 is a looker. For SEG, it's the bike I rode, the I Aerolite. Still beautiful, now with an SEG motor. And the Giant motor, well, there's not too much choice. It would be the Giant Defy Advanced E+, but it's gorgeous. It really is gorgeous. Now, on a more general buying note, be very careful with special deals offered for e-bikes. Often these are unsold models from 2021 to 2023. They may be fine, and they could offer huge savings up to 50% over list price, but unless you know how those batteries have been stored, you may end up with something that lasts a day over the 2-year warranty, and then you'll end up with a very large bill. If you go ahead, check the fine print about what is included in the warranty. I've seen some with a 6-week warranty for batteries and chargers in these older unused bikes. Also, specifications, particularly battery capacity, but even entire drive systems can change between years. Pinarello's Nitro has used at least 3 different e-bike systems over the years. Check carefully what is being listed. Buying second hand can be safer in some ways, in that e-bikes are better used than stored. But unless you are pretty positive about how the bike was used, charged and stored, it can be a minefield, unless you buy a Polini powered bike, which can be serviced. Now, just imagine a little wink emoji there. So I hope that was useful to you. If so, do a like, do a subscribe, do something. But most of all, buy a bike and get out there. Thanks for watching.